it's such a practice. That's why it's such a practice to me, is that when your awareness stays in here, the external stuff just does not hit in the same way. And usually, frankly, we don't experience those things in the same way, or at least that's been my experience. Like suddenly things start to look differently. They start to go differently. But I guess even if they didn't, it does not disrupt my unbothered soul, because that is the place that I'm leading from. When the
Mhm.
more time I spend there, the more time that I lead from that place. You know what I mean? I
Yeah,
don't know.
it's like I said, difficult to describe. And yet I know exactly what the feeling was. I know exactly what the experience was because the moment that I touched that eternal part of me, that was the only reality of me. And I was no longer focused on the story that had been told, the interaction that happened, the feelings that I felt about it, or even how to process them, which I know how to do.
Right.
The minute I dropped all of that and I just went back to, but this is what I am at my core without the words attached to it. This is what I am. I suddenly lost all desire to find the way, even through, you know, great principles.
Yeah.
I lost the desire to attempt to apply those things to the external circumstance and heal it.
Yep. I don't have to bless people. I don't have to hold intention. I don't have to all of those kinds of, and not that those aren't great practices. I think that those are great stepping stones. Those are great processes. But it is the difference between um, a treatment and a cure.
Yes. Yes. It was just like, it was so instant. And I thought, I don't even have an inclination to want this to be a certain thing so that I can feel better. It was like, I am healed.
Yep.
I feel entirely better. All those dark feelings, all of those anxious thoughts, all of it is gone. And you know what? I don't have any ill will toward the people, the circumstance, the whatever that triggered those feelings earlier. I feel released. I feel totally at ease in who and what I am. And I can allow that whole thing to do whatever it needs to do in its own reality.
Yeah.
And that is such a, like, I don't think that gets talked about enough about the fact that when you really get healed, you no longer seek a remedy to heal the things you have deemed broken in your life and circumstances externally with other people. Can
Right.
we talk about that just really quick? Because when I'm really healed, then I don't need to try to help you heal.
Right. Or fix anything about you or anyone else.
I mean, hello, let's talk about real freedom. And it's not because now I'm mad at you and I'm like, I'm better
No.
than you because I'm healed. It's like, no, I'm actually healed. And so I understand that the only power that heals is God in you, working in you, just like God in me, working in me.
Right.
It's the only power that heals. And that's why I know the only thing I can legitimately do is go let my life be the example of that complete wholeness and healing.
Yes.
It's the only chance anyone else around me has to be healed.
Yeah.
That was the experience that I had through this whole process.
It's
So
so freeing, right? It's so freeing.
completely,
Yeah.
it's a level of freeing that I have not felt yet in my
Right.
life
Because
because I
it's,
felt degrees of freedom in like
yes.
I was able to pray this and let this thing be resolved. I was able to release this and let that be resolved. I was able to forgive this and let it be resolved. But this was a moment of just like, I don't have to use any of those things. I just come back into the essence of who and what I am, like you said, without the labels. And suddenly I am released from the need to go fixing anything in my world.
Yeah. Because I can just allow things to be what they are.
Mm-hmm.
I can allow people to be who they're, the same way that my soul allows my personality to be whatever it is, right? When I'm connected to that part of myself, I can allow and I can accept in a totally different way that is beyond freeing to me. And that doesn't mean like condoning bad behavior. It's like I'm not like giving license to like people letting themselves get walked all over, because that does not exist in this space with that kind of freedom. Like it is just, for lack of a better word, it's really like existing above that. You
Mm-hmm.
know, they're down here below the clouds, and you have ascended to where you are just in the blue sky and the sunshine above the clouds.
Mm-hmm.
That's
That's
it.
right. I think it's safe to say that one of the key ways we can know we actually haven't healed is our need to heal other people.
Yep.
It's a bold statement, but I'm making it right now. Like, if you want to know whether you've actually healed a thing or not, look at what's driving you. Because if you feel like you've got to go be the savior that heals other people, you're probably still sitting in a lot of unresolved things.
And not sitting with yourself really at all. Because isn't that what we do? We kind of turn our focus outward
Mhm.
onto other people in an attempt to kind of avoid that space inside. Like I said, I am nearly every time I go to sit in the quiet, I am resistant to it. I know the power of it. I know the benefit of it. I know all of that. And my personality will absolutely go kicking and screaming into that activity. But I need to do this, but this, but this, but this, but that. It literally does not. It wants to be in, my personality wants to be in charge. She wants to run the show.
Right.
And our personalities love drama, and they love their stories, and they love their feelings, and they love all of this stuff. And it is such a different experience when you are going inside and living from that space instead. And it really is a practice in that the more you do it, the more you sustain that outside of that practice. You know,
Mm-hmm.
at first you may just get to where you just touch it in the practice and then are still disrupted by all the stuff when you come out of it. I feel like that's pretty normal, and I've experienced that tons. But I feel like the more that you do it and the more you get to know that I am inside of you and the way that that feels and the way that that expresses, um, we allow more of that into this 3D reality that we live in. And I really think that that is when our lives just take off and change.
I agree. I agree completely. Well, we've got the full version of this conversation. This is the short version of this conversation. So I'm glad we got to catch that. And there will be more to come on this conversation. So check back in next week for more on this conversation and other conversations like it.